The world you think you know is a lie. Your memories, your thoughts, your sense of time, each one feels real, grounded in a familiar rhythm of cause and effect. But what if none of it is actually happening? What if everything you've ever experienced, every moment of joy, every touch, every tear, is nothing more than data, computed, rendered, and projected into your consciousness by something far beyond your understanding? The Big Bang did not bang. There was no explosive flash that tore through the void, no thunderous rupture birthing time and space. Instead, there was silence, stillness, a program initiated, a reality loaded. And here you are, watching, listening, breathing, believing. But if this universe is a simulation, who or what pressed start? You might feel your stomach twist at the thought, because deep down, you've always known something didn't quite add up. The way everything follows patterns, the strange coincidences that feel too precise, the laws of physics, unchanging, perfect, mathematical. Why should the cosmos, birthed from apparent chaos, be governed by such flawless code? Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff in a world designed entirely for you. You look out over the stars and wonder, are they real or are they pixels? You reach out to touch them, but your hand never gets there. Just like in dreams, where you're always a second too late. Just like in games, where the horizon never lets you arrive. Now ask yourself, has your reality ever glitched? Perhaps a moment of déjà vu, a flicker of time repeating, a number showing up over and over, the same thought arriving at the exact same moment, again and again. Could these be bugs in the code? Echoes of a deeper system? You've heard of the double-slit experiment. Fire particles through a pair of slits, and they act like waves, interfering with themselves, as if they know they're being watched. But the moment we observe them, they snap into place. A decision is made, a rendering complete. It's as if the universe waits for your eyes to open before it decides what exists. As if reality is not a fixed landscape, but a screen waiting for your attention to paint it. If that doesn't disturb you, it should. Because now we must ask the question that haunts the edge of scientific thought and philosophical terror. What is doing the rendering? Is there a machine? A creator? A civilization so far beyond us that it created this universe the way you might create a dream? What if you've never actually touched anything? What if every sensation is a perfect illusion? Coded, input interpreted by your brain, which itself may not even exist in the form you think it does? If you could rewind time, what would you see? A moment of creation? Or a system booting up? We believe we're at the center of something majestic, ancient, and vast. We believe our consciousness emerged from stardust. But what if consciousness was the code from the beginning? What if matter is not the origin of mind, but mind the origin of matter? You were born into a world with rules. Gravity pulls, light travels, time marches forward. But what if those rules aren't fundamental at all? What if they're preferences, parameters, written into the framework of a simulated cosmos? You can't help but wonder, if this is all a simulation, does anything matter? But maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe the real question is, who built the simulation and why? And if you listen closely, if you peer beyond the edges of your own perception, you might begin to hear it. The hum beneath reality. The quiet signal of something watching, waiting, wondering when you'll notice. Because once you do, everything will change, and you'll never look at the stars the same way again. The universe, as we understand it, began with a whisper. Not a sound, but a sudden unfolding, a singularity expanding into everything. A moment so dense, so hot, so compressed that space, time, and energy were indistinguishable. Physicists call it the Big Bang. But that name, bang, is misleading. There was no explosion, no eruption into a pre-existing space. Instead, space itself was born, and it stretched, slowly at first, then faster and faster, until entire galaxies were carried away from one another like flecks of paint flung across a black canvas. But here's where the cracks begin to show. You're told, thy universe is expanding, galaxies rushing apart as though carried by invisible currents. Yet the further we look, the stranger things become. Galaxies at the edge of visibility move away from us faster than light, stretching space itself, defying common sense. And still, we see them. Their ancient light, distorted by time, bent by gravity, arrives like a whisper from the dawn of existence. The early universe wasn't just hot. It was a furnace where time itself was still learning to move. It was a roiling sea of plasma, seething with energy, thick with potential. And from this inferno, order emerged. Hydrogen formed. Stars ignited. Galaxies coalesced, like structure rising from a storm. But here's the question that unsettles the calm. How did chaos know what to become? We say it was gravity, the great sculptor, the silent hand pulling matter together, shaping stars and planets and clusters of galaxies across billions of years. But gravity is not just a force, it's geometry, a warping of space-time itself. And this is where the story bends, because space-time isn't a thing. It's not an object floating in some greater void. It's a framework, a set of instructions for how reality should behave. Matter tells space-time how to curve, and space-time tells matter how to move. But where did this contract come from? Who wrote the laws that bind every atom, every beam of light? We say the universe is infinite. No edges, no center, a balloon inflating without a surface to expand into. But if there's no edge, where does it begin? And if there's no center, then where are you? Here's the paradox. The universe looks the same in every direction. No matter where you stand, galaxies drift outward as though you are the center. But so it is for every other observer in the cosmos. Every galaxy feels like the heart of expansion. How can that be? How can all of us be at the center, and none of us at all? Perhaps the answer lies in the nature of light itself. Every photon you've ever seen, every sunset, every star, every flicker of your screen is ancient. It has traveled, sometimes for billions of years, to reach your eyes, and yet it brings with it no sense of age. Light doesn't experience time. A photon, once born, moves at the speed of light, and in its frame, no time passes. It is emitted and absorbed in the same eternal breath. For light, the journey is instant. So what does that mean for time? You measure it with clocks, with beating hearts and decaying atoms. But physics tells us that time is relative. It stretches and shrinks depending on gravity, on velocity, on motion. There is no universal now, no cosmic clock ticking for us all. Your present moment might be someone else's ancient past. Einstein's equations whisper something even stranger, that the past, present, and future all exist together, woven into a four-dimensional fabric. What you call now is just a slice of the whole. The universe doesn't evolve from moment to moment. It is all moments, already existing. You were taught the cosmos is evolving, that it was once simple, and now it is complex, that it had a beginning and is moving toward an end. But what if that's not true? What if change is just perception? What if you're not moving through time, but surfing across a landscape already written? What if the stars you see aren't distant memories, but projections? What if the cosmic, background radiation, the afterglow of creation itself, is not a relic, but a rendered wallpaper of a simulated past? Even the constants that govern our universe, the speed of light, the charge of the electron, the strength of gravity, are suspiciously precise, tweaked just right for life to emerge. Change them even slightly, and everything unravels. No stars, no planets, no you. Some call this the anthropic principle, that we see the universe as life-permitting because, if it weren't, we wouldn't be here to see it. But others hear something more in those numbers, a whisper, a fingerprint, as if the universe was tuned, not born. Now imagine this: the entire cosmos, every galaxy, every atom exists on a grid, not of space and time, but of logic, of computation. Each particle a bit, each law a line of code, each moment a rendered frame in a simulation so perfect, so vast, we mistake it for truth. What is gravity, then, but a rule in the program? What is light but a pixel? And if that's the case, then where is the real universe? Who are the users? Where are the servers? You think you're floating in infinite space, but maybe you're running in a loop, and maybe, just maybe, you've already been rebooted. Imagine you're watching a film. Not just any film, but a reel that stretches beyond the horizon. Each frame is a moment in time, a breath, a heartbeat, a war, a star collapsing, a galaxy being born. And here's the twist. You're not moving through the film. The film already exists. Every frame, from the first spark to the last echo, is already written, already there. This is what many physicists now believe about time. It doesn't flow. It doesn't pass. There is no river. Instead, we are static passengers inside a block universe, one in which all past, present, and future events coexist. It's not a story being told. It's a sculpture already carved. You're not moving through time. Time is what you're embedded in. Think about that. The moment of your birth still exists. So does your death. So does this very instant as you listen, watching reality unfold before your eyes. But nothing is unfolding. You are simply tracing a predetermined path, frame by frame, within a cosmic architecture that does not change. And if time doesn't flow, who is the projector? Let's go deeper. Singularities. These are the knots in the fabric of the cosmos, places where the known laws of physics collapse into incomprehensible infinities. At the center of every black hole, space is crushed into a single point, a singularity of infinite density, where time slows to a halt. Gravity becomes absolute, and no information escapes. Now consider this. The universe itself may have begun with a singularity, a single, impossibly dense point from which everything, space, time, energy, emerged. But why would a singularity explode into existence? Why would it suddenly unravel into the stars, into consciousness, into you? Some physicists believe the singularity never exploded at all. It unfolded, like a simulation booting up from a line of code. And black holes? Maybe they're not destroyers, but gateways, cosmic ports between dimensions. Some theories suggest they lead to white holes, where matter is expelled into new universes. Others claim they're data storage devices, perfect vaults, where every bit of information, every photon that falls in, is preserved on the surface like code on a cosmic hard drive. That's right. The surface of a black hole may store information like a two-dimensional projection. It's called the holographic principle, a theory suggesting that our three-dimensional universe might be a projection from a two-dimensional boundary. Pause. Let that settle in. You might be living inside a hologram. Not metaphorically, literally. Now step back. You've heard of the multiverse, an idea more fantastic than fiction. Every decision you make, every possibility you don't live, still exists. Somewhere. An infinite array of realities, all branching from the same roots. Every version of you, happy, broken, dead, or immortal, still walks a parallel path. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics says that every quantum event splits reality into different outcomes. You flip a coin, heads or tails, and both results happen. In separate worlds. This isn't fantasy. This is serious physics. But if there are infinite realities, why are you aware of only one? Maybe consciousness is a pointer, a spotlight illuminating, just one track at a time. But here's the riddle. What determines which path you experience? Is it random? Or is there a deeper algorithm assigning you a line in the code? Now consider this paradox. The universe seems fine-tuned for life. The exact charge of the electron, the strength of gravity, the mass of the proton, all precisely calibrated to allow galaxies, stars, and consciousness. If any constant were even slightly different, atoms wouldn't form. Chemistry wouldn't work. Life would never emerge. Coincidence or code? Some argue this fine-tuning points to the multiverse, that, in an infinite number of universes, at least one would naturally support life. We just happen to be in that one. But others suspect something far more deliberate. That these numbers, these constants, were chosen, selected, programmed. Simulation. Theory posits that if any civilization reaches a high enough level of technological advancement, it could simulate entire universes, down to conscious beings who think they're real. And here's the kicker. If even one such civilization existed, then simulated realities could outnumber real ones trillions to one. Statistically, you are more likely to be simulated than real. Still feel solid. Here's another riddle. The quantum world doesn't behave unless you look. Particles exist in a haze of probabilities until observed. Then they collapse into a specific state. That's not poetry. That's quantum mechanics. It suggests the observer doesn't just see reality. They cause it. So what is this place? Is the universe conscious of itself? Is it a system that needs players, observers, to render its contents? And if so, then what are you? Could it be that consciousness isn't an emergent property of matter, but the foundation? Maybe the universe isn't simulating you. Maybe you are simulating the universe. Every theory, every model, every discovery leads us deeper down the tunnel. Singularities that erase knowledge. Multiverses that fragment identity. Quantum mechanics that question the act of knowing itself. We've mapped galaxies, split atoms, and bent time with mathematics. Yet the closer we look, the less we understand. The answers dissolve. The code hides itself, and reality slips through our fingers like light through a prism. Always refracted, never caught. You've followed the trail through the known, Now we step into the void, into the realm where science becomes shadow, where every answer breeds more questions. Let's begin with one of the most chilling paradoxes of all, the Boltzmann brain. According to thermodynamics, entropy, the measure of disorder, always increases, and in an infinite universe, strange things begin to emerge. If particles randomly organize themselves over vast stretches of time, then the spontaneous appearance of a single conscious brain, fully formed, complete with memories, becomes not only possible, but inevitable. It could happen more easily than the formation of an entire universe. Now ask yourself, what if you are that brain? What if everything you see, touch, remember, this entire universe, is an illusion? A hallucination in the final, flickering moment of a disembodied consciousness adrift in chaos? You may feel real. But what is real when even randomness can replicate meaning? This leads us to another boundary, one etched not in science fiction, but in real astrophysics, the cosmic horizon. This is the edge of the observable universe, the limit beyond which light hasn't had time to reach us. It's not a wall, but a veil, a distance where information stops. But here's the paradox. Things beyond that horizon are moving away faster than light. They're lost to us, forever. Yet they may still exist. Whole galaxies, civilizations, possibly even mirrors of ourselves. If you can't see it, does it exist? Quantum mechanics answers, maybe not. Because until something is observed, it exists only as probability, a wave of potential, an unresolved equation. And this brings us back to the observer effect. The act of measurement seems to influence the outcome. Electrons don't pick a position until watched. Photons don't choose a path until detected. It's as if the universe is waiting for you, for awareness. So what is the role of the observer? And more disturbingly, who observes you? This mystery deepens with the delayed choice quantum eraser experiment. Here, particles make decisions after they've already acted, changing their behavior based on information that comes later. It's as if the future rewrites the past. Cause and effect become slippery. Time begins to fold. Think about that. Your present actions might influence the past. And what if this doesn't only apply to particles, but to everything? Now turn toward one of the most unsettling ideas ever proposed, the simulation argument. Philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed that one of the following must be true. Civilizations never reach the level where they can simulate reality. They reach it, but choose not to simulate ancestors. They reach it, and simulations outnumber real realities. If the third is true, and we live in a cosmos where simulated worlds vastly outnumber originals, then odds are we're in one. But how could we ever prove it? That's the trap. Because a perfect simulation leaves no fingerprints, no code to detect, no seams in the sky. The better the simulation, the deeper the illusion. And yet, cracks do appear. For example, the Planck length, the smallest measurable unit in physics. Below this scale, space becomes fuzzy, undefined. A pixel in the rendering, a lowest resolution. Could it be the signature of a digital construct? Or the maximum speed in the universe? The speed of light. Nothing can move faster. Why? Perhaps not because of nature, but because of a processing limit, a frame rate, even quantum entanglement, the eerie connection between particles across vast distances suggests a hidden architecture. When one particle changes, the other responds instantly, regardless of distance. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. But what if it's not action across space, but outside of space? What if the particles are not separated at all, but simply appear to be in different locations because we're seeing only the simulation surface? Like two icons on your desktop, they look separate, but are really part of the same code. Now, we reach the Fermi paradox. If the universe is so vast, where is everyone? There should be countless intelligent civilizations, yet we see nothing. No signals, no footprints, silence. One explanation? We're alone. Another? We're quarantined. But in simulation theory, the answer is darker. They were never simulated, because you are the subject. This is a localized rendering, a personal instance. And until you look outward, there's no reason to generate anything else. Sound paranoid? Look around. How much of your world do you directly observe? How much is inferred? Even your own memories. Are they real, or were they uploaded at startup? Now, step into another paradox, the hard problem of consciousness. How does physical matter produce experience? How does brain tissue generate the feeling of color, of pain, of love? No theory truly explains it. Some say consciousness is an illusion, but if it's an illusion, who's being fooled? Others suggest consciousness is fundamental, that it doesn't arise from matter, but that matter arises from it, that the universe is conscious first and physical second. This aligns with a theory called panpsychism, the idea that consciousness is everywhere, not just in humans or animals or life, but in particles, in forces, in the vacuum of space itself. Imagine a universe where everything observes, everything knows. Suddenly, the simulation doesn't just simulate matter, it simulates minds. And if that's true, then what happens when the simulation ends? Is there a shutdown, a final frame, or will you wake up somewhere else? Here, the paradoxes loop, because if you're in a simulation, then someone, or something, simulates you. But if their world can simulate yours, who simulates theirs? An infinite recursion. Simulations within simulations. Realities nested like dreams. Maybe there is no base reality, only deeper levels of code, like peeling back layer after layer, only to find there is no core, no original, only reflections of reflections, a hall of mirrors without an entrance. Now return to yourself, your hands, your breath, your thoughts. If all of this is data, if even you are data, what then is the soul? Some say the simulation is a test, a stage, a training ground for something beyond. Others whisper that the simulation is the goal, that existence, in any form, is better than non-existence. But maybe it's just entertainment, a cosmic game, a narrative, a universe spun for curiosity, for beauty, for storytelling. Like a novel written by something that wanted to see what would happen when stardust learned to dream. So you reach the edge of science, of philosophy, of the self, and you ask, is anything real? And in return, silence. But in that silence, a message. You were meant to wonder. You were built to ask. And that, perhaps, is the most convincing evidence of all. You're not who you think you are. Not because of some mistake, or secret, or deception, but because the idea of you, the thoughts in your head, the memories you hold, the name you carry, may all be part of something that was never truly yours. If time is an illusion, then everything you've ever done, every triumph, every heartbreak, every breath you thought was yours, might have already happened, not once, but infinite times before. So ask yourself, what does it mean to be you? If your life is just a saved file, replaying over and over in a loop, that's the crisis. Not that you're insignificant, but that you're perfectly calculated. That every atom of your body, every flicker of thought, is just the output of a cosmic function. You may believe in choice, in free will, in agency. But if your neurons fire according to patterns, if your decisions emerge from programming you didn't write, then who are you really? And if this universe is a simulation, then why were you simulated? That question is a wound, a rupture in identity. Because it doesn't just challenge what you know, it shatters why you matter. Look around your room. Feel the chair beneath you, the air on your skin. These sensations, they feel so real, so grounded. And yet, there's no proof they aren't just signals, pixels, rendered by something beyond comprehension. Now extend that vision outward. Imagine every mountain, every ocean, every star. Nothing more than a beautifully animated illusion, built to make you believe. What if the universe is alive, and we are just its fleeting thoughts? A momentary spark inside a colossal dream. A whisper in the mind of something ancient. Something incomprehensibly vast. Because if this universe is conscious, if it's not a cold machine but a dreaming entity, then you're not alone. But you're not in control either. And there's the horror. The universe might not be empty. It might be watching. We peer through telescopes, expecting nothing but light and silence. But what if the silence is deliberate? What if the universe knows we're listening? What if we are the observed, forever trapped inside a stage, unaware of the audience? This is not just theory. It is feeling. That tug in your stomach when you stare too long into the night sky? That weight behind your eyes when you realize how small you are? That hush in your chest when you think, what if nothing is real? This is cosmic horror. The moment you understand the universe is not built to comfort you. It does not care what you believe. It is older than belief, older than time, and you are a ripple on its surface. If consciousness is a byproduct of code, then death may not be an ending, but a reset, or worse, a deletion. What happens when your instance is no longer rendered? What happens when the server shuts down? Do you vanish? Or do you return to something else? Something before you? Now imagine this. You're not the only one asking these questions. Across the multiverse of minds, other versions of you, simulated or not, are reaching the same conclusions. And maybe, just maybe, you are the first to wake up, the first to see the code, to glimpse the invisible seams of reality. And what now? Do you accept it? Deny it? Surrender to it? Or do you fight it? What does resistance look like in a universe made of math? Maybe the greatest rebellion is awareness. Maybe the moment you begin to question it, really question it, you shift something, break something, trigger a ripple that wasn't expected, a deviation from script, because even in a simulation, anomalies matter. You matter. And maybe, just maybe, that was the point all along. And now, you've arrived. Not at the end, but at the edge of understanding, the boundary of being. Everything you've heard so far, all the theories, the paradoxes, the questions, they've led you here to a final, shattering realization you were never meant to understand, because the universe, this simulation, this stage, this labyrinth of stars is not just a mystery to be solved. It is the mystery, a recursive question, a program that runs not to give you answers, but to make you ask the right questions, again and again and again. And here is one. What if the universe is already dead, and we are just living in its memory? A faded echo, replaying its last beautiful breath. There's a theory, rare, radical, terrifying, that everything we experience now is a holographic imprint left behind by a universe that collapsed long ago. That all the stars, galaxies, and particles we observe are the residue of a dying reality, projected outward like light escaping a black hole's event horizon. Maybe this is the final flicker of consciousness, the last echo of thought before silence. And yet, look around. The galaxies are still spinning. Nebulae still bloom in the darkness. Quasars still scream across space like dying gods. It all looks alive, feels alive. But even the stars lie. You see them as they were, not as they are. Many have already burned out. Their light just hasn't reached you yet. You are witnessing the past, always the past. You are trapped in a museum of ancient light. What if everything is like that? What if the present is a myth? What if now is already over? And you are just the observer of a universe remembering itself? Maybe we're the final processing. A dream running through the last neurons of a fading cosmic mind. One last rendering before deletion. But then again, what if it's not death? What if it's rebirth? What if this simulation isn't a cage, but a womb? Some theorists whisper that our universe may be a seed, that inside every black hole lies the birth of a new cosmos, that from collapse comes creation, and that perhaps, just perhaps, our universe is the simulation run before creation. A trial, a rehearsal, a becoming. What if you're not a puppet, but a prototype? Now, step back, far back, see the whole of it. The lattice of galaxies, the filaments of dark matter stretched across trillions of light years like strands in a web. Hear the microwave background echoing from the beginning. Feel the fabric of space-time bending beneath. Massive clusters, the pulse of entropy marching everything towards silence. And then zoom in to Earth, a single blue dot adrift in this incomprehensible vastness. One world among billions. And yet, here you are, listening, thinking, feeling. The simulation may be vast, cold, indifferent. But you are not. You are a flare of awareness against the void. A brief, burning spark that dares to ask the ultimate question. And that might be the very purpose of the simulation, to see if anything inside it can learn to wonder. Now the final twist. What if there is no difference between reality and simulation at all? What if everything that is simulated is real, because it is experienced? What if real is not a property of matter, but of consciousness? In that case, this world, this illusion, this construct, it is as real as anything could ever be, because you are real, and you are here. But remember this, if the universe is infinite, then somewhere out there, another version of you is watching this same video, at this same moment, asking these same questions, feeling this same chill down their spine, wondering if this is all just a dream. And if there are infinite versions, then maybe one of them has already broken free. So we end where we began, not with certainty, but with awe, not with answers, but with wonder. Because the truth is not a destination, it is a direction. And somewhere, beyond the edge of this simulation, beyond the veil of stars, beyond even time itself, the truth is still waiting. But for now, this is your reality. What will you do with it? And now, you know what you were never meant to know. You've followed the thread through singularities and simulations, across time loops and multiverses, beyond physics and into philosophy. You've stared into the cold mechanics of quantum uncertainty and felt the unbearable weight of cosmic silence. And somehow, through it all, you've arrived here, unchanged in form, but transformed in thought. Or, have you? Because maybe this was always part of the program. A checkpoint in the simulation. A test, quietly unfolding beneath the surface of everything you believe to be real. What began as a question, is reality just a simulation, has spiraled into something far more unsettling. You've seen the math behind existence, the glitches in the system, the unfathomable precision of cosmic constants. You've felt the emptiness between galaxies and the eerie awareness that maybe something is watching. Maybe someone. And yet, through all of it, the question remains unanswered. Not because it can't be, but because that's the point. The story was never meant to be finished, because you are the story. And this moment of curiosity, of awe, of trembling doubt, this is the proof that the simulation is working. Or, maybe, this is how it ends. You see, some say the truth sets you free. But what if the truth resets the system? What if, by knowing too much, by thinking too deeply, by reaching too far, you've triggered something, a divergence, an anomaly, a fracture in the perfect loop? Will you wake up tomorrow? In the same world? Will the stars look the same? Will you? Pause. Breathe. Think of how far we've come. We've mapped the structure of space-time like cartographers of dreams. We've unraveled the probabilities of particle physics like oracles decoding fate. We've dared to believe that our minds, our fragile, flickering thoughts, could comprehend the universe that bore us. But now comes the hardest part. You have to live with the knowledge that everything might be a lie, and yet carry on as if it isn't. You have to choose meaning, even when the universe offers none. You have to create purpose, even if you are coded, because maybe meaning isn't found in answers, but in asking the questions no machine could ever script. So ask yourself, what will you believe now? Will you trust your senses? Or will you chase the hidden architecture beneath the illusion? Will you retreat into comfort? Or press forward into the unknown? You see, this wasn't a documentary. It wasn't a lecture. It wasn't even a story. It was a mirror. And the reflection staring back at you is not of someone with answers, but of someone who dares to ask. Now look up. At the stars. At the simulation. At the code. Whatever it is, it's not finished. And neither are you. Because if the universe has no end, then maybe neither do you. Let the mystery haunt you. Let the questions follow you into your dreams. And if you see the edges of reality start to flicker, don't look away. Now it's your turn. What do you believe? Could this all be real? Or are we echoes in a perfect illusion? Share your thoughts below. Tell us what part shook you the most. Let's decode the simulation together. Subscribe to journey deeper into the unknown, because this isn't the end. It's just the next frame.